Hey, I'm JR St. Julien with the St. Julien Real Estate Group of EXP Realty, and I'm here to talk to you about contingencies. If you're thinking about buying a home, you need to understand the contingencies that you can put in place to protect you as you're going through the purchase process. So this is part 3 of my contingency series. Now, I told you, I think on my intro video, that I was going to give you a bonus with the third contingency. So the third contingency that's in most real estate contracts is your loan contingency. That one's pretty straightforward, not much to it. We're also going to talk about the contingent upon the sale of the buyer's property contingency. That one can get a little bit more complicated, give me a little bit more to talk about during this video, so stay tuned. Your loan contingency, straightforward. You get pre-approved for the loan. In order for you to get a final approval, you have to do a number of different things, and the lender needs a bit of information. They need the appraisal. They need, obviously, the contract, the purchase contract, the actual home you're buying. They need to know the tax details for that particular home. They need escrow and title information. They need a cleared title report. And then they also need to re-verify all the information that they previously verified about your financial situation. So there's a lot of things that are checked and double-checked once you're in contract that you just can't get done before the property has been identified that you're going to buy. So that's when you go from being pre-approved to a final approval. So the purpose of the loan contingency is just to protect you for some reason if you cannot get that final approval once you are in contract. Pretty straightforward, very simple. Now, if you're working with me, I will always recommend a lender that's pretty much guaranteed to get you to that final approval because they know what they're doing. They know what to look for ahead of time. I've never had any of my lenders that I recommend fail to get the job done. That being said, I have worked transactions where lenders have failed to get the job done, and that makes for a very miserable experience. So one thing to take away from the loan contingency is you need to make sure you're working with a good lender. And if you need a recommendation, I would love to provide one for you. Let's get into the contingency on the sale of a buyer's property. That contingency is basically if you're trying to sell a property and then you need the proceeds from the sale of that property in order to purchase your next property, that's the contingency that you put in place just to protect you if your sale happens to fall apart before it closes. Because obviously you don't want to lose your earnest money deposit on the home that you're purchasing because the buyer that was supposed to buy your home didn't perform. That would really suck. So this contingency is put in place in order to protect you in that scenario. Now, obviously, once all the contingencies have been removed by the buyer buying your home and that their earnest money deposit is now committed to you, you can consider removing your contingency on the purchase of this new home and just know that for some reason, if they fall apart, you can fight for their earnest money deposit and then you got to deal with the seller that you're buying from. So just keep that in mind. Now, that being said, this contingency is a challenge in this market. And the reason it's a challenge is because if you're competing against 10 other people for the same home and you're the only one that has a contingency that's based upon the sale of your particular property, then it's more likely that the seller's just going to select someone that doesn't have that contingency in place. Now, that being said, you can make an offer and make it strong enough in other areas, price, loan contingency, appraisal contingency, etc., inspection contingency even. You can shorten those contingencies, waive those contingencies if you choose to do so to make your offer stronger and still have this contingency in place. But just keep in mind, it does make the process of purchasing a home a little bit more difficult. But that being said, that process will get easier as you march through the process of selling your home. So obviously, the first stage is you decide you want to sell your home, but your home is not on the market. You can write an offer during that stage. It's not going to be a very strong offer because your home isn't even on the market yet. But you can still write it and say, hey, I will have my home on the market in X number of days, and I will have it under contract in X number of days. And if for some reason I don't do that, Mr. Seller, you can cancel this contract and go with someone else. You can do that, and that's the purpose of the contingency. But as you step through the process of selling your home, this contingency weakens your offer on your future purchase a little bit less as you march along the process. So obviously, haven't listed it. Then you list it. That's the next big step. Great. Now it's listed. Now you have an MLS number that you can reference and you can share that with the listing agent for the home that you're trying to buy. The next step is now you have it in contract. Awesome. Now you have it in contract. Now you have a timeline on the contingencies for the buyer that's buying your particular property. The next step is inspection contingencies have been removed. The next step is all contingencies have been removed. And obviously, as you make your way through the sale of your home, the contingency upon the purchase for the home that you want to purchase is less of a distraction from your offer. And then, obviously you close, you no longer have to write that contingency into your purchase. So anyway, so that's the 4, I would say 3+1 bonus. The last one is not as common as the other ones. The other ones are in every single contract, and you have to choose whether you, waive them, shorten them, etc. But they're in every single contract. This last one is an add-on only if you need it. If you have any questions about any of these contingencies that I've talked about in this 3-part series, I would love to answer your questions. I love to talk real estate, so definitely reach out, give me a call, shoot me a text, send me a message through the system, whatever works. Again, I'm JR St. Julien with the St. Julien Real Estate Group of EXP Realty, and I would love to chat with you. Take care.